In 1937, the Southern Pacific Railroad needed a locomotive that could make high speeds combined with a high tractive effort and was capable of pulling a 600-ton train of passenger cars over grades. In service, these new locomotives were to make the 470-mile trip between Los Angeles and San Francisco in 9 hours and 45 minutes. They were required to traverse the 2.2% grades in the Santa Lucia Mountains with some curves up to 10 degrees. Observing from afar at the performance, success, and appearance of the Milwaukee Road streamlined Hiawatha locomotives, and even further the English LNER A4s, the Southern Pacific added a splash of handsomeness to these locomotives as they were to be streamlined and were painted in a silver, black, orange, and red scheme designed by Southern Pacific's Charles Eggleston. The locomotives went on to become one of the most famous and recognized steam locomotives ever built, and they were to be called Daylight. The Daylights were purchased in two separate batches. The original GS2 design was the total of 6 locomotives, and the enhanced GS4 design was 28 total locomotives. All of the locomotives were built by Lima Locomotive Works in Lima, Ohio. 8 coupled wheels were needed and enabled the resulting Daylight 484 to have, with a booster assistance, 124% more tractive effort than the LNER A4 462 found in England. In regards to grade area, that is, the size of the fire, the increase was 119%. The Southern Pacific already had 14 484 class GS1s, which came from Baldwin and Philadelphia in 1930. As with the English A4s, but unlike the Milwaukees, the Southern Pacific's new locomotives were, from a mechanical point of view, based very closely on their immediate predecessors. Like so many large North American locomotives of the time, the success of the Daylight design was due to the application of excellent standards of U.S. practice of the day. Among a few special features worth recording was one that has almost no steam traction parallel elsewhere, and that is the provision of electro-pneumatic brake equipment. As with other forms of traction, the electro-pneumatic brake is commonplace today, especially when multiple locomotives are involved. Applications of the brakes on a normal air brake system relies on a pressure change traveling down the brake pipe from the locomotive to switch on the brakes under each following car. This involves a flow of air towards the driver's brake valve, and in consequence, a delay of several seconds occurs before the brakes are applied to the wheels of the rear car. In contrast, with electro-pneumatic braking, the signal to apply the brakes goes down the train with the speed of electric current. The thinking was that these few seconds, during which the train would travel 700 feet, might, in the case of high-speed service, be the difference between an incident and a disaster. The high curvature degree of the route was recognized by the provision of spring-controlled side play on the leading coupled axle. In this way, the wheels could move over on a curve and allow the flange force to be shared between the two leading axles, with benefits to the wear on both rails and the steel tires. The hilliness of the line gave rise to a series of water sprays to cool the tires on engines and tenured wheels during braking on long descents. Air sanding gear was provided. This was fed from a tank under the boiler top casing, which held a full ton of sand. With booster cut in, the GSs could manage the standard Daylight consist of 600 tons at a 2.2% grade. However, if any other cars were attached, a helper locomotive was needed. Although the Daylight type held to the simple and world standard concept of a 2-cylinder locomotive with outside Walschaerts valve gears, the host of equipment provided did add a certain complexity. For example, there were 3 turbo generators, and a feed water heater and pump, as well as injectors. It goes without saying that virtually all of this complication was made up of items of proprietary equipment, each of which, as it were, came in a box and could be bolted on. Such fittings were apt to work well because competition kept the suppliers on their toes, and if problems arose, a replacement could be fitted quickly. Even so, one failed innovation was an electromagnetic gadget inside the boiler. This sensed foaming and opened the blowdown cocks automatically, and this did not last. Like most Southern Pacific steam locomotives, the Daylights were fired with oil. Indeed, the Southern Pacific were the United States pioneers in this area, economy being achieved with a device called a locomotive valve pilot, which indicated to the engineer what cutoff he should set to suit any particular speed and conditions of working. Streamlined trains worked by further batches of these wonderfully equipped locomotives spread to all parts of the Southern Pacific system, and thus served such far distant places as Portland in Oregon, Ogden in Utah, and New Orleans. The War Production Board refused to sanction the GS6 batch, but on being told that GS now stood for General Service rather than Golden State, they accepted the proposal. Of an order of 16 GS6s, 6 went to the Western Pacific Railroad. The first GS to be withdrawn from service was number 4462 in 1954, and in October 1958, number 4460, now displayed at the Museum of Transportation in St. Louis, Missouri, brought Southern Pacific steam operations to a close with a special excursion run from Oakland to Reno, Nevada. Number 4449 also survived to haul the Freedom Train several thousands of miles across the United States in connection with the bicentennial of independence in 1976. The locomotive is still able to run and has recently been restored to the original Suburb Daylight colors. Number 4449 is usually housed in the Oregon Rail Heritage Center in Portland, Oregon, and is only fired up on special occasion. The following specifications apply to the Southern Pacific Daylight steam locomotive. Built by Lima Locomotive Works, the cylinders were 25.5 inches by 32 inches. Total weight was 870,600 pounds. Total steam pressure was 300 psi. Total fuel was 6,275 gallons of oil. Total water was 23,300 gallons. Tractive effort on the engine was 64,800 pounds, and with booster, an additional 13,200 pounds. Railroad classification was Gulf Sierra 4 Sierra. Adhesive weight was 275,700 pounds. The drivers were 80 inches. Total length of the locomotive was 110 feet. It was 10 feet wide and had a 16-foot height, and maximum speed was 110 miles an hour. Thank you for watching our video. If you enjoyed the artwork seen previously, please visit our print shop on Nickel Plate Limited on Etsy.com. Also, if you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button. And if you're not subscribed, please do so, as it helps our channel grow, and turn on all notifications for future notifications on new videos that we may post. Thank you once again.